All right. Good morning, everyone. Happy Monday. I'm grateful to be here with Dan Greene, a 20-year veteran of the investment industry. And if you're not aware, a recent celebrity status went over 100,000 people on a view on LinkedIn here recently. So congrats, Dan. I just wanted to have him on the show today. Obviously, we like to talk about flipping the odds and your favorite here at CoinFlip. And we really want to talk a little more about social media today, kind of the negative stigma that has in the financial services industry, and talk a little more about why it's important, how you got started, Dan, and all that kind of stuff. So I'll start there. I mean, take us through your mindset or how you kind of got started on, the social media LinkedIn train, probably what, 5, 6 years ago, I think you told me.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me, Jeremy. I greatly appreciate it. Yeah, just to give you a little background on myself. I've been in the financial industry, as you mentioned, for nearly 20 years. Been married for 22 years, have 5 children. We live outside of Nashville, Tennessee, in Brentwood. We've been down here since 2006. I was born and raised in a small dairy farming community up in northern New York, just south of the Canadian border. My dad was a city firefighter. My mom was a school lunch lady, and I was one of the first people to attend college and complete college in my family. So, I grew up working, and the question you asked there is, how did I getting started into the social selling aspect, or, the virtual marketing game. And to be honest with you, I found it to be a way to differentiate myself in this industry. And I was fortunate enough that the organization I was working for was allowing us to do it in a compliant way. And really what it allowed for me to do was, stay top of mind for my clients. And so, I prior to 10 years ago, I didn't have a Facebook page, didn't have an Instagram page, I wasn't on LinkedIn, I didn't have Twitter. Still to this day, I don't have a Facebook page, but I do fully embrace LinkedIn. I occasionally use Twitter. And I keep Instagram pretty personal, but having a presence on LinkedIn has definitely been a significant advantage for me, not only over the last 2 years since the COVID breakout, but prior to that, I was really starting to see some traction. I was starting to get some significant engagement, in remaining top of mind for my clients, and having them think about me when I wasn't even there.
Yeah, I mean, that's fantastic. I think you kind of hit the nail on the coffin right there. I think most people who sit in your shoes or the financial advisor you're talking to, right? The big C word, compliance, kind of comes up, and it's great that your firm allowed you to do that. For people sitting in your shoes or advisors who kind of afraid of that big C word, compliance, what would you say? How would you get started if their firm allows it, which most do? You just, like you said, you got to kind of play within the rules that firm wants you to play in.
Yeah, it's obviously you want to always go back and check with your compliance and work with them at the beginning to see what can be approved, what can't be approved. But most firms today, whether you're on the advisor role or whether you're on the distribution role, will have partnered with some third party or internal source for postings, right? So there's a number of companies, from Socialware to Hearsay, and some of the companies have brought it in house and have their own stuff. But there are compliant ways that you can actually start to communicate with your, or create engagement with your audience, that's already created for you. But what I've found over the last 10 years of doing this is that the personalization is the big differentiator, right? When I look at the views from the posts that my firm allows me to put out there from the canned or packaged products, they're up into now they're up into the several thousands. But when I first started, they were in the single digits. Okay. But when I would do something on the personal side, and work and kind of combine it in with what I do, and what my beliefs are, I would get, several thousands when I was getting single digits on the, canned stuff. And now, as you alluded to earlier, I mean, most of my posts on the personal side are getting, into the tens and twenties thousands. I had one, like you mentioned the other day, that hit into 100,000, which was, a milestone, that a goal that I had for myself this year, which I was extremely excited about. But again, that has, as you know, and many of your listeners know, LinkedIn works on an algorithm, right? And so it's a snowball rolling down a hill. So some of my stuff that I'm getting canned or packaged out there through these third party sources is now getting several thousand views because the algorithm's working in my favor.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think that's the point. it's consistency, right? I mean, you've been doing it for years. I think there's this, oh, I
Mhm.
posted and I got 100 views. That didn't work. I mean, you've been doing it for years. I just started earlier this year. I started to kind of same thing.
Yeah,
My worst posts are, doing way better there. 6 months ago, right? It's still, and it's continuing to
yeah.
grow and the engagement and things of those natures. So, yeah, I guess what would you say to those, um, looking to get started? What would you do? What would be your first step outside of obviously making sure you can do it? Like what? Yeah.
Yeah. My first thing I would encourage most people to do is to make it a daily habit to go and look at the news feed. And, kind of, subconsciously pay attention to what grabs your attention. Okay. Because I'm a big believer that birds of the same feather flock together. So if you find that you're interested in travel articles or hunting articles or athletic articles or industry articles or wine or whatever your topic may be, motivation, practice management, personalization of marketing, right? Whatever those hobbies and interests are, you'll find yourself stopping and reading those things. And amazingly, if you start to engage with those things or you start to create personal content around those topics, and again, this goes back to compliance, right? If it's not industry related, right? If it's not about in our industry, about the markets or, returns, you're going to have a far better chance of getting that through compliance. But once you find those things that you're passionate about, one, it doesn't become work anymore. You're reading that stuff anyhow.
Mhm.
And then if you start to share that with your audience, amazingly, people with similar interests and hobbies will be engaging with those things and you'll start to get a following. So for me personally, what I started to recognize pretty early on was that I was drawn to motivational stuff. And so I started consistently coming up with a hashtag Monday motivation. So,
Nice.
as I went through the week, I'd find something or something would inspire me, and I made a ritual to start sharing that on Mondays. And then I also found that I was pretty interested in, practice management. How do I get better at my craft? How do I engage more with my clients? And so I came up with a hashtag Power Tuesday. And again, as I went through my week and I looked at the news feed, I would find things that were intriguing to me, and I would either reshare those or recreate those in a personal way, and again in a compliant way that allowed me to engage and motivate others that were looking for enhancing their overall practice. And the third thing that I was drawn to was wisdom. And so I did hashtag Wednesday wisdom. But, for me, it was having that consistency of doing something on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday every week that really started to get my audience and my people that I was engaging with to say, hey, that was a great post. Or I'd get people say, hey, I saw that picture of you and your family. And, that saying that you put underneath it was motivating. It really inspired me on a Monday. And that those little things make a big difference in your overall, what I would say, mind share.
Yeah, I'd agree. I mean, right up the alley, right? I mean, your job is to stay top of mind with these financial advisors, and the more they can see your name, see you, see the personal side of you, I think the better. And I love the post that you did that did go call it viral. 2 weeks ago now with you tying the tie with your son,
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Tell
Thank
me a
you.
little more about that post, that story, because I think it's fascinating in itself, and obviously is the one that
Yeah.
you hit your 100,000 this year. So congratulations on that.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you. I mean, again, that was, we all have probably, if you're anything like me, my kids laugh at me all the time. I'm taking pictures. And I mean, even before I started doing all this stuff on LinkedIn, I was taking a bunch of pictures. So, I would assume most of us have thousands, if not several thousands of photos on our phone. Right. And so, sometimes life events happen and you can scroll back through your photos. And, if you don't know how to search photos on your phone, I learned the other day that you can hit that little magnifying glass and you can, type in something, whether it's, you can type something as generic as a sofa, and the iPhone will find every picture that has a sofa in it,
Hmm.
so I was that post was actually on the anniversary of my dad passing 16 years ago. And, my son was actually born 7 days after my father passed, and, I was the last Greene male in my family, and, my father unfortunately never had the chance to meet my son. I had 2 daughters prior, which he loved, and I was grateful that he had a chance to meet. But I remember upon my dad passing, I was pretty distraught that, he never had a chance to meet or hold my son. And, I I was angry at that time, but then I quickly realized that, all the things that he taught me and the legacies that he built in me, I will have the ability to pass on to my son. And so on that anniversary, I wish I could say that I'd been crafting or drafting that post forever, but I woke up on that morning, I thought of my dad and I started writing that post. And I scrolled through my phone and I found that picture of my son and I, my wife snapped, years earlier of me teaching him how to tie a tie. And I just put it all together and it happened. But
Mhm.
again, with consistency of doing this stuff, you train your mind just like in sports or athletes, you know what I mean? You do this stuff and stuff comes to you if you're consistent with it. And that's pretty much how that one came around.
Yeah, it's a fantastic story, and thanks for sharing. And for those listening, I mean, I think the thing to take away from that is
Yeah.
obviously consistency. But if you're a financial advisor, I mean, and you can get a post that goes viral like that, even if you don't get one, you're seeing 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 views, people commenting. That's building your brand in where you live, across the country. For your case, when it went viral, I mean, think of the fact of all the people who could have
Mm.
saw you if you were a financial advisor. 100,000 people seeing your name, seeing you being human, seeing the personal side of Dan Greene is unbelievable. So I think the one thing wholesalers and even financial advisors kind of struggle with is the time commitment to LinkedIn or to any type of social media platform when it comes to posting. Kind of explain me where you started at, how long it was taking you to now. I mean, in my case, I used to struggle with the post about the first few weeks I started doing it. Now it's just kind of like a
Yeah.
5 minute thing. I'm like, oh, there's an idea. I take it and I run
Yeah.
with it, and I have a post unless I'm doing a video. So
Yeah.
you kind of walk me through that, like where you're at, where you were
Yeah.
to where you're at now.
Sure, I mean, as a father of 5 kids and a husband and a businessman, I mean, time is of the essence, right? I mean, so yeah, I agree with you that, you know, blocking time to do this stuff may seem like a major hurdle. But what I did is I challenged myself to do, 5 things a day that take 5 minutes or less.
Mhm,
So I'm trying to get, 20 to 25 minutes a day on this at the beginning. And I'm doing more now because of the, results I'm having and the impact that I'm having. But at the start of it, it was 5 minutes a day. And so, it could be 5 minutes looking at the news feed, as I said earlier.
mhm,
Right. And you just look at that news feed. And again, you subconsciously stop at an article that's, on travel, you read it, you're done. But you know that you are drawn to travel, right?
mhm,
And then I try to challenge myself to engage with my network, and LinkedIn does a really good job of giving you that alarm bell at the top. So challenge yourself to spend 5 minutes on the alarms every day, right? It
mhm,
could be people that are celebrating work anniversaries or birthdays or job changes or promotions or were mentioned in the news. Take a couple minutes and engage with those people. They're in your network. And again, if you spend 5 minutes, it could be very fruitful 5 minutes if you do it. In addition to that, I think, as we all think about building businesses and networks, we would spend a lot of physical time, whether it was on the golf course or in board meetings or at charity events or, doing client meetings. That was time, right? Spend 5 minutes a day building your network. Go into the My Network section and click on some people. And I'll say that this is probably the hardest one to only do 5 minutes on because it's addicting. You're
yeah,
shocked. You're like, "Oh my god, how was I not connected to that person? I've known them forever. Our kids play ball together. I see them every Sunday at church. How are
mhm,
they not in my network?" And so you can get sucked in there. So you do have to set some timelines. I would set an alarm on my phone and 5 minutes was up. The beautiful thing was that, they're gonna be there tomorrow. But if you consistently do it every day, you're gonna build out this network that's your network and it's a desired network. I don't encourage people to do the, mass marketing, mass connection options. I just don't think you're hitting the right people, and I don't think it's authentic and
mhm,
thoughtful. So I would do that. And then finally, spend 5 minutes doing some due diligence, right? Like just go out and research some people. I mean, Jeremy, that's how you and I got connected,
mhm.
right? I'm a big personalization guy and I started looking at hashtag personalization and you came up, and I started following your stuff and I was pretty enlightened by it and I liked it, and then you did your 50-day challenge and I made sure to go back and read every one of them. That was part of my due diligence. I thought they were great. There was
Thank
some
you.
good things in there. So again, if you do those, 4 or 5 tasks, every day of the week, all of a sudden, before you know it, you've spent 2 hours a week, you've spent, 8 hours a month, you've spent, 100 hours in the course of the year, but they're very fruitful hours, and you've done it in little segments.
Yeah, I think you're the spot on. The two that I've made over my, because I'm kind of like you in your sense. Do another one. I engage with people on their posts. I do a 5 to 10 minute time block a day. Actually, I save it on my favorites, my 25 favorite people that I'm going to comment that I really want to connect with,
Mhm.
and I just go through and comment, see what they post, and just comment it. And what you find is, to your point, is the engagement to get going is the more you comment and engage with other people, the more likely they're gonna return it, reciprocity, right? So, and I'm right with you too, like
Yeah,
acknowledging those birthdays, anniversaries, whatever they are that's LinkedIn's popping up is huge because, and especially if you personalize a little bit, I think most people just
100%
kind of
agree.
hit the happy birthday button. But if you can say happy birthday, Dan, we haven't been golfing in a while. Let's go hit the links. Just the add or 2 seconds of personalization makes it stand out because everybody else is going to just be blasting that
100%.
custom button
Yeah, I mean,
on that day-to-day basis.
100% agree, yeah.
What so on the standpoint of personalization on your outreach, anything else you've done? Obviously, you mentioned um, the birthdays, the outreaches, anything on social media. Obviously, continue to personalize your posts, which I think are fantastic. Anything else that you've kind of comes top of mind on that?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of things, right? I mean, as you think about our industry and you think about what we do, it is about building personal relationships. So, I encourage people to pay attention to social signals, right? Like watch for life events, right? When we mentioned birthdays and anniversaries, but you'll also see, when there's, things that happen with their kids or with their family members, take that opportunity to engage with them, but even beyond the family members, think about the people that report to them or that they report to, right? You could acknowledge things and make people and build this bridge of, this network, and all of a sudden you're paying it forward and you're recognizing one of their assistants or one of their bosses and you're bringing it to their attention. Um, and also, I'm a big believer, and I think you are too, Jeremy, that artificial intelligence is great, but nothing surpasses human interaction, right? So anytime I can take artificial intelligence and create human interaction, it's a home run.
Hmm.
And so occasionally, if you see something that stands out, you see somebody did something very philanthropic in the community, or they're involved in a ribbon cutting ceremony for a new building or something, if even if you just printed that off, okay, and you put it in a handwritten note and you mailed it to him and you said, "Hey, Jeremy, congratulations on the new building," or "Congratulations on the, donation to the library," or whatever it was, you'll be one of many, not very many, that actually took the time to, one, print the article off, but actually send them a handwritten note. And you know what happens is that that article, even if it's in black and white, it'll sit on their desk for weeks. And every time they see it, they think of you.
Yeah, I would say you're gonna probably be the only one that does that.
I would
From
think
my
so. Yeah,
experience,
yeah.
yeah, and two, I think you hit it right on target, right? So obviously, we're big believers of personalization, a coin flip, and we do the same thing. We
Mhm.
try to educate people about if you're gonna do something, make it tangible so other people can see it, right? So whether it's a gift, whether it's a
Mhm.
card, or to your point, a handwritten note, it sits on the desk, and might happen to say, "Hey, well, Dan, who sent you that?" And it says, "Hey, Jeremy over at Coin Flip Marketing sent that to me." Or for a financial
Yeah.
advisor's case, like, "Hey, who sent you those amazing coasters there, Mr. or Mrs. Client?" "Oh, my financial advisor sent me those." And it starts this conversation. Oh, thinking within the prospect's head, my financial advisor doesn't do those types of things for me. Last time I heard from them, they called me with an Apple stock pick. That was a year ago. Um, and I think that's the type
Yeah.
of things that we try to teach. And it sounds obviously you're a big fan of as well. Is you know almost free advertising, right? It's not free. You got to pay for the card, the gift, and the time, but it becomes free because you just never know when it's going to spark that conversation. Um, with a client. I'll give you a perfect example. I helped an advisor earlier this year do a birthday card, and the client actually ended up posting the birthday card on Facebook, saying, "Look at what my financial advisor did for me today," and we helped him just kind of personalize the gift and the card. Took an extra 20 minutes and made it special, and that financial advisor got free advertising for life. It's stuck on Facebook for years, unless obviously he pulls it down. And who knows who's going to see that and might ask that financial or that client who sent you this. So I think that's.
Yeah, yeah, it's a big thing. I mean, there's 2 things in 20 plus years of being in sales and marketing that I've tried to do on a daily basis. And the first one is be politely persistent. Okay? Anybody in sales that's successful is persistent, but the key is some are jerks and some are polite.
Yep.
And so if you can be politely persistent, right, you can create what I call a presence in your absence. And so that's number 2, presence in your absence. So these gift cards, these recognitions, these engagements online, if there's somebody that you're trying to interact with, right? To your point, Jeremy, you block, 10 or 15 minutes a day to do like 25 people that you're trying to connect with or engage with. Well, guess what? They're no different than you and I. They probably don't get thousands of likes, right? So what happens if all of a sudden I start liking Jeremy's stuff, right? And I'm not going to like everything, but I'm going to be
Mm,
politely persistent. Maybe once a week I like his stuff. But after a couple of weeks, guess what Jeremy's mindset is? Dan Greene, yeah, he's a great guy. He likes all my stuff, right? And it's just you can do this in a polite way. I think back to when I was, starting in marketing years ago, Cracker Barrels are all over the country.
hmm.
Cracker Barrel has a great birthday card section,
Oh.
okay? And one of the sections has every year, okay? So you could, you find out how old this person's gonna be, or if you go back into your files and you see that they were born in 1976, you can go grab the 1976
Mm.
birthday card from Cracker Barrel. It tells them the price of milk, tells them the price of bread, it tells them who the president was, what the top TV shows, all these things that, and again, it's a personalization. They go back and they see this stuff. And if you're in our business, it gives you the Dow Industrial Jones level at that year. You can tie this thing into all this stuff, but the fact that you personalized it with the year that they were born makes it a big differentiator. And again, they'll show that to all their friends, to your point. Hey, listen, hey, grandma, I see this birthday card. The Dow was only at, 700 when you were born. How old are you, grandma?
Yeah, I right with you. I think the more you personalize it, the more you stand out. Two of the things I've taught financial advisors to do is there's actually you can go out and actually buy the newspaper. I think it's New York
Mhm.
Times, Chicago Tribune, and there's one more. You can actually buy the newspaper from that day the client was
Yeah.
born. So July 1st, 1976, you can buy it and send it off to them. And then two, there's actually a cool company I work with. It's called Old Time Candy. You can actually
Mhm.
send a box of candy from all the candy invented during that decade. I think
That's
you can
cool.
get it down to years. So you'd be surprised how much candy's been around since like 1920, 1930s. I'm like, wow, that stuff's been around forever. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
But you know, but once again, it's a thing that's going to say, wow, I mean, this person thought about me just more than hey, my accounts that they have with
Yeah.
me or the assets they have with me as a wholesaler. It's showing that you care and like I said, it just most people aren't getting that type of outreach.
Yeah, there's a on that birthday theme as well. There's a website called marietimecapsule.com,
Never heard of
and you can
this.
actually go right into marietimecapsule.com, and you can actually put the date in, and there's a quick page. So again, if we're looking at cost and we're looking at efficiency and all this other stuff, you can print a quick page from marietimecapsule.com from the exact day of the birthday that your client was born, and it'll give you all that stuff that I was mentioning in the Cracker Barrel page. So again, by just printing that off doesn't cost you but 3 cents maybe to print that piece of paper and folding it up in the card. It's something that they'll leave laying around and people will ask, oh, where'd you get this? Oh, Jeremy sent it to me.
Nice, thanks for that. I did not know that it was out there. Thanks for that tidbit.
Yeah, it's a
Much
pretty cool little
appreciated.
site. Yeah.
Dan dropping some knowledge here on LinkedIn Live today. Much appreciated.
Yeah,
um,
happy to do it, buddy.
you know, any other tips, tricks that you've seen on social media as we're wrapping up here almost at 11:30 that you might want to share, even on the personalization outside of social media, that's been helpful for in your practice before we get going here today?
Yeah, I mean, any of my advisor friends or, even wholesale distribution competitors or colleagues, um, you know, recognize life events, right? When people are married, when they go through, deaths or divorce, or when they have children born or grandchildren born. In today's social media world, it's not there's no excuse that you didn't know. Okay, it's out there. And so pay attention to those things and put some thoughtfulness behind it. A great example for what I've been recommending people do is that, all kinds of grandparents put stuff on Facebook about grandchildren. And
Hmm.
a real simple, easy one is to train yourself to watch for that. And when it happens, do your due diligence. Go back and see where grandma and grandpa went to college. And then go to the college bookstore and buy a onesie. Okay, go online, buy a onesie. Have that onesie sent to the office. Okay, when that onesie arrives in the office, put a handwritten, personalized note in there and say, Jeremy, congratulations on the birth of your grandchild. Can't wait to make sure that they go to a fine institution like you did. Couple things will happen. You're gonna connect with multiple generations. The grandparents will love it. The kids of the baby will love it. You'll probably get pictures of the child in it. You can do additional outreach through, so just paying attention to those major life events and then having a thoughtful plan of how you can engage and create memorable activities around it.
Yeah, and what I like about that, if you have the structure, the system, right? You're looking at it 10 minutes a day, and you see that within, I would guess, 90 days to 180 days, it comes like clockwork, and you're able to spit out a few of them on a day-to-day basis if it's you have that many people within your network, and it just becomes systematized and it becomes automatic and it becomes easy. And that's right up my alley. What I talk to a lot of my clients about is just start, choose one client, follow them, pay
Mhm.
attention to them. Monday at 10 o'clock, whatever it is, it doesn't matter during the week, every time, every week, make it intentional to find that person, track them down. Is there anything that you might be able to reach out to about Dan to personalize, to create what I call a wow moment, make it memorable.
Yeah.
So I love that idea. Sending the college onesies. That's a
Yeah.
fantastic idea.
No, thank you. Yeah,
Yeah.
no. And, I mean, you could do it with the coasters, like to your point, you know what I mean? There's all, I mean, you see these opportunities in life, jump on them. And again, it doesn't necessarily require a huge financial burden. It just requires some thoughtfulness and you have to be thoughtful.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. So I love that you said that because it's going to segue into, and we're going to go in here in a second to what I'm talking to on Wednesday. I'm talking to a company called AI Identified. Actually helps identify financial advisors for financial advisors, money in motion. And some of the tactics you just talked about, the thoughtfulness to be able to reach out to these people with money in motion, I think is a game changer if a financial advisor is willing to take the time to implement it and reach out to people when there's an IPO or a venture capitalist funding or a private equity buying or whatever that's in their network. So for those interested in hearing more about that, that'll be on Wednesday. I'll be talking to a sales rep with AI Identified. So with that, we'll get going here. It's almost 11:30. So Dan, thanks for jumping on LinkedIn Live with me today. Learned a lot. Hope the audience learned a lot. And once again, thanks again.
My pleasure, Jim. Thank you for the opportunity and everybody have a great week.
Thank you.